David Foley.
Roll call.
Kemp Smith.
Gary Israel, Secretary.
Vance Garwood.
Marshall Martin.
Dan Colson.
Thank you. Let's move on to item 3, which would be the minutes from June 16th.
Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, make a motion that we approve the minutes from the June 16th, 2026 Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals as presented.
Thank you, Gary. Again, hopefully everyone's had a chance to review that. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion passes. Item 4, communications. Anything from staff or residential development report or anything?
Nothing additional to add.
Nothing? Okay, thank you. Well, let's move on to agenda item 5 then, which would be the special use on 224 East Central Avenue. I assume that's why most of you are here. Thanks for coming. I'd just like to remind everybody that we are just volunteers. We don't get paid. Sometimes I don't think we should have volunteered, but that's what we did. We were asked to serve and we are. And we're also not elected representatives. Anything that goes through our committee is a recommendation for city council, which I believe a lot of you probably saw in the last week or two. But the city council is in the end who recommends or who approves or doesn't. And again, our job is just to review. And that's our job here too. So city council sent this back to us for consideration, which we're certainly going to do. And if you read our minutes, we're not obligated to do an additional public hearing, but we definitely want to. We'd like to have everyone heard. I already told my wife it was going to be a late night. My kids are out of town, so that helps. But again, we want to make sure that everyone's heard. We would ask that when you come to the podium, please state your name and address. Please try to keep your comments brief. And we've all read the minutes from the meeting. We've read the correspondence a lot of you have submitted. Thank you for doing that. We would just ask that you would limit comments to new information. Again, all the written information and the minutes, the videos, recording, we've seen them. So we would ask that you would limit and make your voices heard, but please limit to new information. So with that, we'll go ahead and open the hearing. Anything anyone else would like to say before we get started?
Well, one thing, everybody's limited to 3 minutes maximum.
It's not a rule we made up. Just it's what the limit is. So anything else? No. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Afterward, we'll ask the applicant to come up and respond to any questions. But if the first person would like to come up and again to the microphone, please state your name and address. And that's not just for this hearing. If you haven't been here before, that's how all hearings are, whether it's a contractor or an applicant or anything. That's what we do. Please be respectful of each other. Please don't raise voices. This is a hearing. So if the first person would like to come up, that would be great.
Ben Elliott, 609 Havenwood Court. Chairman Garwood, members of the commission, my name is Ben Elliott. I've lived 30 years in Andover. My back fence is 200 feet from 224 East Central. Last week, the council sent this case back to you. I was in that room. I'm here again. I want to start with a question I'd want to ask if I was sitting where you are. Not, is this a good thing? This region needs treatment. If tonight were a vote on whether recovery matters, I'd be sitting down. The question is narrower and harder. Is this the right place to put it? And when something goes wrong here, who's holding the paper? Right now, nobody is. What we have is a letter to an HOA describing what kind of neighbor they intend to be, but intentions aren't obligations. And a letter isn't a term. So let me be direct about my position. This is the wrong parcel. An 80-bed medical detox facility is an institutional use, 24-hour operation, shift changes at midnight, ambulances, deliveries, a regional referral center. Their own June press announcement calls it that. drawing patients from across South Central Kansas, not just Wichita metro area, and from all around Kansas and Oklahoma from their chairman, Harmon. And it's being placed against the backyards of single-family neighborhood with a wooden fence in between. This isn't about who's in the building. It's about what the building is and what sits behind it. And here's what I'd ask you to notice. If that same facility sat in a B2 commercial district, your own code would require 6 feet of solid screening industrial, 6 feet and 100 feet of separation from homes. Andover already has parcels like that. Along Kellogg with the highway access a regional facility actually needs. In the 21st and Andover Medical Corridor, where clinical use is already clustered. At those sites, this facility asks almost nothing of you. It just works. Here, it needs a comprehensive list. 6 feet of screening the applicant builds and maintains because what's there now is a homeowner's fence. Shielded lighting because those windows are our bedrooms, our children's bedrooms. A written discharge policy so no patient is released on foot because those sidewalks lead into our neighborhoods. Drives and stalls pointed away because those streets are residential. Accreditation on a clock and police and EMS reporting twice a year because neighbors will need somewhere to go. That's not a permit, that's a patch. And a special use runs with the land, not the operator. Whatever this company promises us this summer, they'll sell tomorrow, and the next owner inherits the permit, not the letter. 5, 10 years from now, when our kids are growing up, none of us are in this room, the parcel is. So I'm asking you to recommend denial and to say plainly why. Right facility, wrong location. Because a promise isn't an obligation until somebody signs it and handshakes it. You sent this back once. You knew something wasn't fitting. Something wasn't finished, and it still isn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Yao Ng, 1201 East Woodstone Drive in Andover. Staff Note 12 states that Comprehensive Plan Figure 3.1, quote, proposes the future land use of the subject property as city center, unquote. And therefore, medical facility is an acceptable land use. I respectfully disagree with this assessment because Figure 3.1 is still in the proposed phase. Figure 3.1 clearly shows the words proposed place types. So the property is not yet considered within city center at the moment. This specific property is officially zoned MXR, mixed residential. And official zoning should take precedence over a draft or a proposed figure. Page 70 of the comprehensive plan provides the list of typical land uses for mixed residential neighborhood, but medical facility is not on the list. Therefore, the requested special use does not conform to the current Andover comprehensive plan. In addition, according to KFF, a leading nonprofit that tracks healthcare statistics, the United States averages about 35 addiction treatment beds per 100,000 people. For a city like Andover with a population of about 16,000, that equates to a need for about 5.6 beds. This proposal is for an 80-bed facility, meaning it is more than 14 times larger than what Andover would need. This means most patients would come from outside Andover. This facility is not scaled to serve our community. It is a regional facility being proposed in a small residential city. That is why Mayor of Wichita and regional leaders attended the opening ceremony. Okay, so it is a regional facility, not to serve our local community. Staff Note 14 asks about relative gain in public health. The limited public gain benefit to Andover may not outweigh the negative impacts of locating this facility so close to schools and neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Paul Wimmer, I live at 524 East Crescent Lakes Drive. I want to respect what you ask and not cover the same ground that has been covered. I agree 100% with what each of the individuals stood up and spoke about. When I was on city council, one of the things I personally struggled with was getting community response and involvement in decision-making and what was important to the community and what they needed. It was hard to get the community involved. So what I would just ask you guys is to hear what they're telling you, hear what we're saying, hear what you guys have received, but this is the community. It's not the local politicians. It's not the staff members of LifeSpring that don't live in the community for the most part. This is the community showing up, making it a priority, trying to understand the political process and where they need to be, because we were told at the city council meeting that that wasn't appropriate, that we should be here at the zoning meeting. So everybody's turned out. This is how much the community is against this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jeff Elston. I live at 1006 West Central.
Excuse me, Jeff, what's your last name?
Elston.
Thank you.
So let me ask you guys a question. Do you have the ability to kill this proposed center here right now, tonight?
We could decide not to make a recommendation,
And what does that mean?
that it wouldn't go back to the city council.
Okay, so it would die right here.
It could.
Okay, so what do you
No,
need?
actually, they technically could still do it, right?
If the planning commission takes no action, it goes back
Yeah.
to the city
Oh,
council.
yeah.
with the
If we don't do
original
anything, that's what
recommendation.
happens. Right,
Um,
sorry, I misunderstood. If we don't do anything, it goes back to the city council.
We want to make sure that the public forum gives them a chance to say what they want to say. So if there are questions, I'd ask that you write them down and then we can try to answer them at the end.
So in other words, you couldn't kill it here this evening. It would have to go back to the city council and be killed there. Is that, do I have that right? Is everybody understanding that? Is that correct?
We could make a recommendation not to approve it.
Okay. Okay, so
But
you
again,
could do.
questions would be great toward the end,
Okay,
like
okay,
you,
okay.
like,
So
like you said.
I moved here 20 years ago. Somebody said 30 a while ago, right? And I moved here and pay high taxes here simply because I want a safe, stable community. Over the years, I have seen that deteriorate. I support addiction treatment just like everyone else, but I don't want a residential rehab center here because it would create a 24/7 operational impact our neighborhood is already struggling to handle. A residential facility brings more daily arrivals and departures, more traffic and parking pressure, and more real-world medical behavior emergencies that pull police, fire, and EMS resources, meaning that if my taxes go up to pay for that, I'm not going to be happy about that because I don't want my taxes paying for that. Meaning more emergency calls, more disruption late at night with incidents happening. Neighbors experience the noise of police and fire sirens, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning. We also have seen an increased homeless and a strain on public safety. This rehab will raise safety risks and disrupt community life, and I oppose the placement. Let's take care of what we have before we add more, especially a drug rehab. And then I also pulled up a quick takeaway. Now I had AI do this, so full disclosure here, on Ascension, who is backing the LifeSpring facility, which just filed their LLC back, I think, in May or April of 2026. So this is a brand new company. But the public feedback, Better Business Bureau reviews, suggests repeated complaint experiences around contact practices, while most concrete track record item I can substantially quickly from official sources that they have a bad review on. And then I want to tell you the most concerned about patient care, how they handle debt, estates, harassment, and the complaint patterns. So they don't have a track record, 3.2 out of 5 stars. LifeSpring is not, or was it Life Recovery Ascension is not backing you guys up?
Okay, let's not have correspondence from the applicant to the speaker, please.
Ascension is backing them up. So that was a review on Ascension.
He'll,
They have
he'll
a-
respond to comments afterward.
Okay, so anyway, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua Albin, 533 North Stone Tree Place.
Excuse me again. I'm hard of hearing and you need to speak directly into the microphone.
Joshua Albin, 533 North Stone Tree Place. Today, you guys have an important decision, but it's a decision that you've made several times, and it's based off of several factors that are legally required. We call them golden factors. Golden factors are important for every decision that planning and zoning does. My problem today is that I've looked for a new staff report to see if there was further consideration on these golden factors, which were relatively absent from the last time. And in fact, what I'm telling you is that when reviewing this, it determined that the balancing analysis is largely absent from the staff report. Golden factors require several consistencies, but the main thing that we're looking at is a zoning question, benefit to the community against a burden on the surrounding properties. No disputes have been presented today that addiction treatment serves an important public purpose, but public benefit alone cannot answer zoning questions. The question is whether this benefit can be achieved at this location, consistent with nearby neighborhoods, schools, traffic patterns, public safety. There hasn't been a comprehensive thing that we would ask for most commercial permits. Current operational plans, site-specific compatibility analysis, traffic evaluations, analysis of the nearby schools, and evidence supporting each of the findings required under the special use regulation and those golden factors. By asking for those things, doing so protects not only the surrounding neighborhood, but also the integrity of the city's decision-making processes and ensures that whatever decision you ultimately make and reach is supported by a complete and legally defensible administrative record. Thank you for your time, your thoughts, and your consideration.
Thank you. Next.
Say one more thing just real quick. I'd like to request that you guys give back to the city council a negative review and a recommendation to not move forward. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Lewis. I live at 215 Stephanie Lane here in Andover. I'm here to speak on Factor 14 public benefit. I've come here to partially give part of a testimony as well, and hit on some points about this. I want to start by saying good evening and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I want to begin by sharing a little bit about my husband and I. We both have been to treatment a few times, 2 times in Wichita. I also attended treatment in Girard, Kansas, and my husband in Topeka, Kansas. I have never witnessed at my time in the treatment centers when people have left in those neighborhoods at that time, others going out into the neighborhoods causing issues. I understand some feel that this possesses a risk for surrounding neighborhoods. Although I cannot assure you of this not happening, what I can say is if given a chance, you may be surprised at what happens when people from addiction are told who they truly are, and how they begin to change. Some simply lack identity. What I mean is simply speaking life into them is what they need. These people have stories, struggles, and hopes for a better life. Maybe even take the time to mentor someone coming out of addiction and watch the incredible growth that can happen. Some people want to believe addiction isn't a problem here, but the truth is that it absolutely is. Addiction does not discriminate whatsoever. I have known doctors, lawyers, corporate professionals who have lost everything because of drugs or alcohol or both. I have also known people who started at rock bottom, found recovery, and went on to become successful business owners and respected members of their communities. If we're going to talk about public safety, then let's have an honest conversation. We continue to add more bars and restaurants that serve alcohol, normalizing drinking as part of everyday family life. We also know impaired driving happens after people leave those establishments. That puts not only the driver at risk, but also everyone else on Andover streets, including our children riding in vehicles, walking in crosswalks, or riding their bikes and scooters. That is the real danger, and it's one rarely.
Your time has expired.
Okay. Thank you.
Next person?
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name's Tia Allen. I live in Crescent Lakes. My address is 1202 East Woodstone Drive. Not to be redundant, I came to a city council meeting last week and I came as a mother. Today, I'd like to come as a teacher, and it's a little less emotional for me, so not as much cracking in my voice. But as a teacher, I teach in USD 259. I am a product of USD 259, so is my husband, and my in-laws retired from USD 259. My brother-in-law also teaches in 259. That's a big city, a lot of needs, great schools, awesome teachers. My kids go to school in Andover. Why? Because I value education, and I know that the education in Andover is amazing. Before tonight's meeting, my 10-year-old and I pulled up YouTube. I don't know if you guys know about Streamer University, but I'm trying to keep him off of that. So we pulled up Andover, and we pulled up things to do in Andover and what's special about and unique about Andover. A very unique thing about Andover is Andover Central High School and Andover High School. They are the top performing schools in the suburbs, including Mays, Goddard, Wichita, Derby, and Hayesville. They are the top 5 performing schools in the state of Kansas. That is very important. If the center comes, which I am very compassionate about people in recovery, but if the center comes, the neighborhood behind my house that hosts 150 lots right now will not be filled at the cost of those homes that are currently being sold. They will be filled at a lower price, which will bring in a different clientele, which unfortunately, as an educator, I can speak on, will bring in a different clientele to your schools as well. That will change the academic level because of different behaviors and different needs that our city is not able to support because we don't have the money to support it. It's not about compassion. It's about the right place, the right time, and the right funding. We are a small city of 16,000. We do not have that. And no matter what anyone from Life Center or Life Recovery states, this is not Minnesota. This is not Bel Air. This is Andover, Kansas. It is nothing similar. And a question that I have for the gentlemen who are representing Life Recovery, are any of them from Andover? Have any of them lived in Andover? Because I'm very confused about their comparisons from the city council meeting that everything that they state is just like Andover. It is not. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person? There must be more, yeah.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Schock, and I live in Valley Center. My mother lives 20 feet from the facility in the assisted living. First and foremost, her safety is my top priority. I have dealt with drug addicts and alcoholics. They've even been in my family. I also know what they do. They don't recover the first time, maybe not the second, maybe not the third, who knows? Jason from LifeSpring said last week that how did he say it? They talk to these people, see where they're coming from, where they've been, what they've been doing. They monitor them. They have cameras. Well, I know there's no outside cameras. Like I said, my mom lives in the assisted facility. And that when they leave, they escort them out of there. No, they don't. They can leave AMA anytime they want. 20 feet from that place, when people are looking for something to get money to go and buy what they want and need, our residents have little doodads out on their porches and stuff that they grow, their flowers. Who's to say that stuff's not going to come up missing? Some of our residents maybe forget to lock their doors. Who's to say they're not going to try to get into the doors or any of the residents' cars that are there? Again, safety. My mother lives there with several friends. And I just don't feel that is the right place for a place like that. I have compassion for people going through that. I went through it with family members. That is not the right place for the facility. Thank you for listening.
Hi, Kelly Lair, 608 North Woodstone. Most of everything I was going to say would be echoed through the conversations that people have had, but there's a few things that I wanted to address. And one of the things she just mentioned, but part of the zoning of your jobs is to determine compatibility, right? The compatibility of this facility, when you're looking at how does it affect the neighborhood next to it? We've mentioned the people that come out of those, the people that are drawn to it. We haven't mentioned the impact on the valuation of housing. There's an immediate impact on valuation of housing. There's plenty of research that shows that anything within 1/8 of a mile has about an 8% decrease. Anything with a detox is 17%. Well, I can assure you that all the residents of Crescent Lakes are going to be applying for property tax valuation decreases immediately. I can also assure you that, like she mentioned with AMA, I've had loved ones that have gone through treatment. I've had friends that have gone through treatment. When somebody wants to leave, they will leave. We have 2 bars and a liquor store adjacent to this facility. That's a challenge. And in the night before they come in and check in, most of them are going out and they're coming in not sober. So we're inviting that to our neighborhood. The other side of this too is contradictions that we've been hearing. I've heard somebody mention before, and I've heard him mention last week that these people are just like us. Well, not too long ago, there was interviews on the news, KWCH, you can find the links online, talking about how this facility is going to be able to bring in and help with the homeless situation from surrounding areas. I don't think we need more homeless people brought here. We have a homeless issue that's rising as it is today. When those homeless people walk out of that building, where are they going to go? They're going to stay here. This is a nice little community for them to stay in versus being in downtown Wichita. I don't want to invite that into our neighborhoods. I don't want to put that around our children. I have empathy for all those people. I have empathy for the people who have addictions. And it still doesn't, to me, match compatibility. And I think that really needs to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Chairman and Zoning Planning Board. I once thought about applying and trying to serve on that board, but I don't know about that now. 630 East Shade is where I live. I live clear on the other side of this facility. What I do have at stake is my kids go to those schools.
Could you state your name, please?
Scott Rackley, Rackley.
Thank you, Scott.
Like I said, my kids go to that school. I'm not trying to be mean, but at the end of the day, we do need the rehab facilities. I just think it's in the wrong spot. I know occupants or what's the word I'm looking for? They go through the process of checking in and finding out if they're compatible for that. One question I do have is when you're going through that process, do you check to see if they're registered sex offenders? If so, it's really close to the school. I think that's a bad idea. If you do wind up not checking for that and you do have a registered sex offender and he decides or she decides to just up and leave on their own free will, that puts our kids at risk, which is a huge, huge safety risk. So my thing is let's focus on the safety of our kids, which are the future of Andover. I think that's pretty much common sense on my part. I know most of y'all probably have kids that go to school in Andover, but I would ask that you maybe rethink the whole process of where it's going to be located and what it's relevant to as far as homes, schools, and whatnot.
Thank you.
My name's Richard Wheeler. I live at 213 East Central, which is right straight across from this facility. I've been here since my folks bought in 1945. I've seen Andover grow. When we moved here, it's 150 people. We knew everybody. I look around now and I can see 2 people that I really know. That's how much this city has grown. This city does not need a facility like this. The other night, I was sitting across the street at the shopping center, homeless people, cardboard boxes laying, sleeping on the sidewalks. Our police department can't do a thing about it. They go up and talk to them. They can't do nothing about them, anything, unless they commit a crime, which will happen sooner or later because these people need money to eat. Places, and it's going to, temperatures are getting hot now, there are places to go. But this facility is not for Andover. It's someplace else other than that. So we really appreciate and give them some good thought to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commission. My name is David Ekstrom. I live at 631 North Woodstone Drive. I know you asked that we not rehash, that a lot of people have brought up the concerns, especially with safety, the location. What I did want to bring up was specifically point 14 that came before the commission, and that was the recommendation on the commission evaluating the detriment to the applicant if this permit is denied versus the public if the permit is recommended to go forward. Specifically, what I wanted to talk about was property valuation. In staff's comments back, they had mentioned that they did not see a public record anything that was showing of a similar type of city, municipality, or anything of that nature of a situation where property values went down. And I'd like to say that I actually have brought something to that effect that I would like to give over whenever I'm done speaking. What it is an expert witness report that was given and taken from the public records of Kane County, Illinois. And what this was for a facility that was a 120-bed facility that was supposed to be going into St. Charles, Illinois. It's a town of about 34,000 people on the very western edge of the Chicago metro. So very much like a rural-ish area as you would see Andover comparative to Wichita. And this expert witness report was done by Dr. Benny Waller, has 2 PhDs. He specifies he's a professor in finance and real estate. I would strongly recommend the commission read through this. His citations are excellent. His reasoning is excellent. He gives fairness to both sides, including the opposition's side on this. But ultimately what he came down to was all the records, which were hundreds of records that he looked in, hundreds of studies, all that he evaluated came down to definitely showing that in rural areas, there was a definite reduction that you could see in real estate valuation. So I wanted to offer this information new to the commission, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next.
All right. Good evening. Brad Davies, 710 North Waterview Place. Chair and members of the Planning Commission, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to respectfully ask you to deny the special use request. I've lived in 7 different states throughout my life, including moves related to active military service and my civilian career. I've owned 5 homes, 3 of comparable value in those communities. Those experiences have given me the opportunity to see how different cities and towns handle growth, zoning, and their responsibility protecting established neighborhoods. I chose to make Andover my home because of the quality of life, the community standards, and the character the residents have worked so hard to build. I'm concerned that this request could negatively affect the character of Andover and the expectations homeowners have when they invest here. My property taxes in Andover are approximately 2 to 3 times higher than I would have paid in other states for similarly valued homes. That represents a significant financial commitment. Homeowners who make that investment do so with the understanding that careful planning decisions will help protect their property values and preserve their quality of the community. A special use approval is not just a decision affecting one property. It can affect surrounding homes, future development decisions, neighborhood stability, and the long-term perception of an area. Once a change is approved, it can be difficult to reverse, and it affects can extend far beyond the property boundaries. The Planning Commission has an important responsibility to balance individual property requests with the broader public interest. The question should not be whether this use can fit on this property or serve the community, but whether it is the right use for this location and whether it aligns with the vision residents have for Andover. I'm concerned about the potential effect on nearby home values and the precedent this decision could have for future residents. Protecting property values is not just a financial investment, it's about preserving the confidence the residents have in their community and the planning process. I support responsible growth and progress, but growth must be thoughtful. The character that makes Andover desirable did not happen by accident, it came by careful decisions made over time. I respectfully ask the Planning Commission to consider the long-term impact of this request on homeowners. Thank you.
Steve Church, 738 Westchester Place. First of all, I'd like to thank all the mums and dads that have come out tonight for their kids. Thanks to all the mums who made their form, made their signs. It's awesome. I visited the facility this afternoon. Jason gave us a very good tour. I was able to stay as long as I could. Thank you very much for doing that. It's a pristine facility. There's no doubt about it. I'm also vice president of the Union Rescue Mission here in North Wichita on North Hillside. That's a shelter for the homeless. In fact, Vance and I served on that board for a couple of years together. We also try to transform men so that they're able to leave the facility and get back into society. So we do mental health treatments and drug addiction programs. One of the things you need to realize about this facility is that it will become a magnet for other people that are in similar traits who have addictions. It will become a magnet. Our facility is a magnet. We have a homeless encampment in a creek. You can't see it from the road, but it's about half a mile away. And we've had problems with people trying to break in and steal copper and things like that. It will become a magnet. And Jason quite clearly pointed out that the drugs are very securely kept, stored in line with Kansas statutes. We appreciate that. But the people that, they don't really understand that. They think it's a drug rehab facility. Even though those drugs are stored securely, they're still going to think they're going to be able to get a hold of them. I also thought that the security generally was not adequate in comparison to what we do at the mission. You need to have it really secure to make sure people cannot get in at all. There's a couple of things in there that really I was not happy with at all in comparison. But the most important thing I wanted to mention tonight is that highly likely that this place will become a magnet for people that we don't want in Andover and the people that we don't know how to deal with, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Phil Hamilton, 119 Chapel Drive. So I have let me start with this. I want to thank you guys for the time you put in to do this. Trust me, I know it's not a whole lot of fun sitting up there, especially as volunteers. You guys have a process and procedures that you have to follow here. I offer somewhat of a unique perspective because I was on the first city council that sent this back 2.5 years ago. And then watching the last city council meeting, I kind of reflected on the information that was shared. I think one of the things that stood out specifically to me is Mr. Klaus kind of clarified that you guys are acting in somewhat of a quasi judicial making capacity. There's a process that's been established. You have to run it through these set questions. And I think what became apparent to me as I looked at that is as I was going through the checklist, which I know you guys will have to do, I think it was questions 11 and 14 as I went through those specific questions that reflecting on everything that was shared last time and everything that was shared with us the first time 2.5 years ago, I just don't know if there's been enough research and data collected yet to answer in the affirmative or the negative on either of those two questions. So what I would ask is when you approach those two questions, 11 and 14, if you approach it in a way to understand, have you guys got a substantial amount of information? You guys have had a lot of facts thrown at you. You've had a lot of opinions thrown at you. What I would ask is that you look at those facts that have been provided and potentially those that may still need to be looked at and obtained and put that through the process. I know the police chief sat here last time and gave his unbiased opinion on the research that he did and the effect that other communities have had, what that did in terms of their police force. And then I think there were a couple people that said they had previously lived beside some of these facilities and gave their firsthand testimony. So again, thank you guys for doing what you do. I know it's not a whole lot of fun to sit up there and take this, but all I would ask is that you kind of look at those two questions specifically and make sure you have enough information and facts to establish those facts and findings when it comes to those 2 points. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Next person.
I'm Lindsay Turner. I live at 1002 East Waterview Drive in Crescent Lakes. I don't have much more to add. I do have questions since you said we were allowed to ask those questions. I was actually at lunch today with a friend who lives in Benton, and she was talking about the jail in El Dorado and how walking down their streets, because there are people when they're released there that they are, and if they don't have rides, that they'll just start walking because they don't have anywhere else to go. So I guess my question is, whether they leave against medical advice or against before their time is done at the facility, or when they're discharged, what kind of confirmation do we have that somebody's going to protect people that are in our communities after they leave? Whether it's that they've been discharged, are you going to require families or somebody to come pick them up? And if not, are you just going to let them walk out the door? Are you going to take them somewhere else? Also, with the people that leave on before they're supposed to, what happens if something does happen to one of our family members, our kids? Who's responsible for that? Because it's not, as you can see, the community, for the most part, from what I've heard tonight, doesn't want this facility in our community. I also know a woman who interviewed for this specific facility, and she thought that the first interview went really, really well. And then she was supposed to have another Zoom interview that nobody from the facility showed up for. So they scheduled another one. Nobody showed up for that one as well. So it doesn't give me a great feeling about the track record of what they say is that what they're going to hold up to. And so there are a lot of concerns in that regard for me. Again, nobody is saying that facilities like this don't need to exist, just not here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person. You sure there's nobody else? Please go up and state your name and address and microphone if you would.
My name's Lauren Ingalls. I live at 250 Corey Drive. My question is, why not Andover? The homeless population people with addictions, people who struggle with alcohol, and things like this, this population is not going to decline. It is only going to continue to rise. Why not Andover? Why not help people? Andover does have a lot of resources, a lot of businessmen and women in the community who can reach down to pick somebody else up, to bring them up to their level, to teach them, to mentor them. Why not? What I do here is fear and prejudice. I hear people who are scared and who have a separation worldview, when we're not called to be separate, but to be together, because we are better together. And I believe Andover as a community believes that we are better together. What if this was an opportunity for Andover? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah, so if everybody's done, I just wanted to come up here and make it official that I request that you guys submit to the city to kill this deal at the next city council meeting.
Can you state your name again, please?
Jeff Elston.
Hello, my name is Ina Friedman. We live in 708.
Can you hold on just for a minute? I'm trying to write all these names down and stuff, and I want to make sure.
Could you say that one more time?
Ina Friedman,
ENA?
INNA.
Okay.
I was president of PTO in Andover Central Middle School last year, and I have kids here, as many here, and we are not against this facility, but we have kids here, and it is adults who is addicted adults. They have choice to choose whatever they want to go to clinic, but our kids live here. We can't change the addresses because of this facility. You know, it's impossible. Our kids must be safe, and we are worrying about it. And please make consideration. We are against this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Sarah Bachman. I'm at 1114 East Woodstone Drive. So I am a mom. I'm also an educator. And I also chose to live in Andover for so many of the reasons that probably a lot of people did. And part of that is the planning. It's very apparent coming here from other parts of the country that there's a lot of consideration and a lot of planning that goes into the growth and building roads before they're needed and things that seem silly, sort of, unless you've lived somewhere where it's a mess. And it's not like that here. And that was a big part of why we came. So I also like living in Andover because of the culture. And I don't think that any of us are saying not in Andover, but we are saying not where it's not appropriately zoned, not right backed up to a neighborhood with a wooden fence in between, not right next to school after school after school. It wasn't zoned for this type of use to begin with. Why you have to deny a special use at this point? It's not in Andover. It's not right there where it's not zoned to be there, not next to the schools.
Next.
Hi, my name is Brianna Basso, and
The house I grew up in was 606 Havenwood Court, and where my parents still live as well. So if you look on the map, it's literally 10 feet away from where you're wanting to put the facility. So I remember when I went to Andover schools, and I remember that back gate. I used to walk to school a lot, and hundreds of us on Fridays would be so excited because we got to walk to Slushy Hut and Sonic, and it was a big thing. Like, everyone was so excited. And I actually taught at Andover Central Middle School for a year. I taught 8th grade English, but my husband got orders to Geilenkirchen, Germany. He's in the Air Force, so that's where I currently live right now. So we're stationed there. But I'm back visiting, and it's the perfect time because I want to be able to stand up for my parents and where they live and just what is right for this community, because I just know this is a community that I love so much, and I'm proud that I grew up here. And other military families from McConnell, they're like, Andover is the desirable place to live. Like, Derby's close by, but people want to live in Andover because of the community here and the safety and the schools and what they feel about their kids and just everything here. So I please ask that you do not build this facility 10 feet away from where my parents live, where I grew up, and please just help keep our community safe. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, my name's Jessica, and I live on 337 Pitchers Court.
Your last name again?
Barnes,
Okay, thank you.
Barnes. Okay, so I wasn't going to talk, so I didn't have anything, but I feel the need to talk because I have both. I have 5 kids with a 6 on the way going through the school. Both of my parents are drug addicts. My brother just passed away in a drug facility, actually. So I was really torn on this whole thing, but because the last facility, my brother was in facilities multiple times, and this last one he went into, he didn't come out. Somehow, some drug person, I don't know what to call it, came in, gave him laced fentanyl, and he died on the bathroom floor in the facility. So what I'm worried about is that it is so close to my kids' schools, and I work at the school, and so many of those kids walk home on Central. So how do we keep kids safe if they're walking home and they can leave whenever they want? Or drug people can come in and give drugs to people in the facilities. So that's where I'm like nervous about. That's mainly it. It's just like, it's so close to the school that I just don't think it's very smart. And I know that my brother would have never hurt a child. But I also know the person that gave him the drug had a record on hurting children. So it's like, you just don't know who's coming and going. And that makes me nervous. So that's about it. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, my name is Sherry Payne, and I live at 1114 East Rosemont Place. Wasn't planning on speaking, but I guess one question that I want to point out is, this is inpatient for 30 days. What about outpatient? And outpatient will increase traffic in our community significantly. That's the only point I want to make. Please, please, I beg of you to act on the behalf of the citizens that are here tonight. And for those that couldn't be here, there's a lot of people on vacation, several people that just feel like they couldn't make a difference that I've spoken to. But we thank you for all that you do and for the volunteerism that you provide for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. We sure there's nobody else? Want to be very clear, when we close the portion of the hearing, it'll be done. So I just want to make sure that everyone has had a chance. It's kind of like the last call at an auction. Anybody have a chance? Anyone want to say anything? Yeah. Yes, that will be next. Yes, sir. Yep. Final chance. Nobody else? Okay. I hereby then close the public portion of the hearing. We'll now hear from the applicant to respond to questions. Please be respectful of the applicant. Please don't, raise your voices or shout out. I expect and assume that the applicant has been keeping track of questions that have been asked prior in the public hearing and assume that those will be addressed. So if the applicant would please come up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Doug Leach. I'm the founder and CEO of Ascension Recovery Services. A couple of quick things. The ChatGPT about the company is about a debt collection agency. That's not my company that was referred to. I'm in long-term recovery myself. I've been sober for 15 years. Prior to getting clean and sober, I didn't show up for family holidays. I stole things from family members. I drove intoxicated. I did all that type of stuff. I was a danger to society. I heard one of the questions or one of the statements was that it doesn't happen the first time or second time. My first time going to treatment, I never drank again. I've never done a drug again. So I've done about 90 of these public hearings for zoning around the country. Every single one, it's just the same concerns are brought up. And I'm not downplaying those concerns. I understand that they're rooted in fear. I'm a father. I have a 6-year-old. I have an 8-year-old. My 6-year-old, my 8-year-old go to treatment centers with me all the time. The reason that I do that is not because I'm an irresponsible parent. It's because that they're not a threat. There's good and bad of every business. There's different types of treatment centers. There's methadone clinics where people line up outside, not to knock them, but often there's disturbances and things like that. There's homeless shelters and programs for homeless, all types of things where you have people wandering around throughout the day and don't have anywhere to go. That's not what we're doing. The center that we're opening is a first class, very, very high quality treatment center that is licensed by the state. We're heavily regulated by the state. If there's an incident at our facility, we have to report it. That's not something that we can say we don't want to do. There's many, many studies. And one gentleman brought up a study of the double PhD. I had the pleasure of being on the other side of him in Vermont. And there's dozens of studies that kind of debunk that. You can get a study that says anything. And that guy's, I'll leave my opinion about that guy. But the property values in Ludlow, Vermont, if you guys want to look them up, whenever we opened up a center there for Trey Anastasio, prior to the centers, until the center opened, property values went up about 50 to 75%. I could go on and on and on of communities, but property values, safety, schools, kids, these are all the things that get brought up in every community. You guys don't know me very well, but clean and sober 15 years. I'm a wonderful husband, wonderful father. Nothing is more important to me than family, other than getting people clean and sober and giving them the chance that I've had. If opening up a program, of which I've opened up 90 around the country, and I open them up in local areas where there is not a center, and everywhere I ever go, it's a great idea, just not here. I don't think there would ever be a consensus on where it should be, because I'm not yet seen that. But my point is, if opening up a center such as what we're running, which is licensed by the state, we go above and beyond and get them accredited by the Joint Commission, meaning we're operating at the highest standards. If they were causing problems and hurting children, would I continue doing that? Again, you don't know me, but you can look me up online, very, very, very public. I speak a lot about this. I would never do that. There's a documentary called Recovery Boys. It's on Netflix. Anybody can watch it. It's the first center I ever opened. There was 200 people at the meeting, just like this, whenever I spoke, and they were physically threatened. And this is a town of 400 people in Aurora, West Virginia. If you watch when the center opened, nothing happened. And there was no talk, there was nothing. And pretty soon the neighbors started asking, did you open? What happened? But if you watch the documentary, you'll see the neighbors show up at the graduations. The neighbors bring food over. The neighbors put on a barn dance for the folks. That's every one of our treatment centers. Communities get involved in our centers. So again, I'm not downplaying because I know these things are rooted in fear. I'm telling you that I wouldn't do this if it really ever materialized. It just doesn't materialize. And there's plenty of information out there. I've also offered this and I'll offer it again. Anybody in this room can find a center that's operated by me, not the debt collection agency, and pick a neighbor. Go on a map, pick a neighbor, send me an email. I'll put you in touch with them and you can have a one-on-one conversation and ask them if our center has caused a problem. Property values don't go down. Schools are not less safe. The reason that we're opening up in Andover is drugs and alcohol are a massive problem in this town. It's here. The people inside this building are not using drugs. They're not drinking alcohol. It's a voluntary program. So if somebody wants to be there, like that's how that's one of our big criteria. I mean, we screen out sex offenders. That was a question. We screen out violent offenders. We screen out if someone is not willing and able and to participate in treatment. We could fill 150 beds. The study that said the 5 whatever beds, the point of that study is to say we're grossly underserved in our country. That's what that study means. We could fill 80 beds here in Andover in 90 days. And it would be from a local area, not that far away from here. But we screen out for people who truly want to change their lives. Their willingness is their, to me, is their number one criteria for getting in. If someone comes to our center and doesn't want to be there, we don't want them there. If they're going to not participate in treatment and discourage other people and things like that, we will administratively discharge them. I don't like to do that. I like to give people an opportunity, and we do work with them. If someone comes to our center, they're not wandering around the street. They go back to the home that they live in because it's not a homeless shelter. So again, I understand the concerns. I've heard them every time I've done this. And I can also say that every center that I've opened and that I operate, we have wonderful relationships with our neighbors. Our neighbors are our biggest supporters. Typically, after they open, people don't even realize that they're open because there just isn't anything going on. So happy to answer more questions, but we have some other folks that would like to speak. So thank you for the time. And again, I appreciate all the concerns. And I'm here to have conversations. We had an invitation sent out to 450 people to come meet with us and talk to us today. 8 showed up. I think we got 4 emails. If the timing didn't work, we'll produce our contact information and talk with us. Some of the people that came were completely opposed. They asked some of these questions and they said, oh, okay, cool. We'll be at city council supporting you. So I just think you need to get the information, you know, from what's really going on there versus fear and things like that. So anyway, thank you guys so much.
If you'd stay at the podium so we can ask any questions. If you
Stay
would,
here?
if you just stay there, that'd be great.
Okay.
I know there were a lot of questions asked. One of them is how discharges are handled. So if someone leaves or is, I don't think discharge is the right term. I'm not in healthcare, but how is that handled?
It is. That's
Are
the
they
right
just
term.
allowed to just go down the street or how does it work?
No. So it is discharge planning. And if someone were, Jason is going to be better at speaking the clinical terms than me, but we have to report that to the state immediately. But what we do, if someone wants to leave, there's tactics. We try to get them to stay. We have someone come talk to them. We want to encourage them, you know, and a lot of times when I went to treatment, many times I wanted to walk out the door. People talk to me, stay another day, you know, all that stuff. And thank God they did. If someone wants to leave our facility, we have a discharge planner. It's a full-time position. It's all that they do is find our residents their next step. We talk to their mom, we talk to their husband, their wife, whoever. We arrange transportation. Nobody walks from the facility. Nobody walks from the facility. So if a loved one is not coming to pick them up, we provide transportation back to where they're living. Again, they're not homeless, so we're not dropping them off on the street.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Is
Dave.
this voluntary, right? It's not court ordered or?
Not court ordered, no. No,
And
we
most
have to
people are
screen. We have to screen them and assess them, and we have to accept them. They can't force somebody on us.
Okay. And your patients, clients, whatever you want to call them? Are they self-pay mostly with insurance or?
Yeah, so in Kansas, not a Medicaid expansion state, most people working have Blue Cross Blue Shield, or if they're not, their family pays for treatment. So it's a great facility. But yeah, paying or insurance pays for care there.
Okay.
And we'll do things for someone, if someone has a strong desire, very, very willing, we'll scholarship, and do things like that. I mean, we really want to help the community. So, but generally in 95% or more is paid to come there. And once someone pays their money to come, parents don't really let them leave, but
yeah.
And then there are centers, like I mentioned, there's all kinds of centers. It's not what I do. And I'm not saying that they're bad centers. I think there's post-incarceration programs that do wonderful things. I think there's homeless shelters that do wonderful things. I don't think that this is an area for either one of those, but anyway.
In your opinion, what is the majority of addiction that you treat across the board?
Yeah.
Sorry, like if you were going to say opioid or alcohol or
so alcohol is still number one.
Number one.
Alcohol is still number one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it changes. Typically, you don't have someone that's just alcohol. It's something else in addition to but that's the number one offender.
Okay, so 50% alcohol. I mean, if you could break it down at all, is it possible?
So hard to tell, and it changes over time. You know what I mean? My guess would be the vast majority of folks would consider themselves alcoholic.
Okay.
I would also say they probably have, smoked pot, have done coke, have done whatever.
Yeah.
But it's.
I'm more interested in opioid type addictions that we struggle with.
You'd be surprised at how little that's on the primary diagnosis, because there's so much synthetics and there's not really, and they've cut down and controlled. I mean, we see kratom. And people coming in.
Wow.
I know Kansas passed a law July 1st, thank God, because it's synthetic heroin and it's worse. So, but we do see that. But it's very rare to have a heroin anymore or pain pill addiction. It's fentanyl. Some people, it'd be fentanyl or, a synthetic kratom or something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
So Doug, during the day, can any of your, and would you give the term that you use for them, patients, residents?
Yeah, we call them guests. We call them
Guests.
guests.
Okay.
When Joint Commission comes, we have to call them patients, but we like to call them our guests.
Okay, so during the day, can your guests just leave to go out and
No.
take a walk in the neighborhood?
No, we do things with our guests, like we do community service projects. They're always supervised by multiple staff. That's something that I do in all of my centers. I want everybody going through treatment, getting in the habit of doing service work in the community and giving back. So, but someone just to say, hey, I'm going for a walk and walk out of the door, that's not permitted. So we have alarms on all the doors. It's not locked in. They're not in jail. If they want to leave, we talk to them and go through that process. But people are not unsupervised at any point in time. And the state regulates that. We have to do rounds and check on patients and mark it off, at all times. And again, I'm not a clinician. I'm the business guy. Jason would be a lot better at answering some of those questions, but nobody's, we're not allowed to leave people unattended.
Okay, so are you concerned that there's several restaurants in the neighborhood that serve alcohol and there's a liquor store diagonal to where you are?
I've opened up a center directly beside a bar. There's alcohol and drugs everywhere on planet Earth. It's everywhere. So if we try to provide treatment in places where there's not alcohol, I mean, there is no place. So that doesn't bother me. If someone wants to leave treatment, believe me, it's an embarrassing thing. They do not want to hang around and visit the liquor store next door and go to Applebee's and have a margarita. It's a pretty devastating decision for them, a very hard decision. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing our discharge planning, but the thing was, brought up before that this was going to be, honeypot wasn't the word, but it was going to be like kind of attracting, kind of unsavory characters. And I've heard that one before. That's rare, but I have heard that one before. That's just not true. If you're a drug dealer, you probably don't want to go around people that are not doing drugs to make a good business, would be my kind of a joke. But
So is there a process in place for when somebody comes in to make sure that they're not bringing alcohol, drugs, other paraphernalia in?
absolutely. I'll say two things. I'll say, so yes, we screen, we know everybody comes in. You can't just come off the street and walk in the door, come in. We know who's there. You have to make an appointment, come in. We have family visitations, things like that. In jails, in prisons, in the highest regulated prisons where they do full cavity searches and everything else, drugs get in. Drugs can get anywhere on planet Earth. How? I'm not that sophisticated. So it can happen. It can happen anywhere. Again, like I said, full body cavity searches, looking down everything, and people get drugs into jail. So, but it's rare. And what we do is we have specific protocol. Typically, if someone's disengaging in treatment, you spot that long before it happens. Before somebody were to, so it's not a frequent thing that drugs come to facilities, number one. It's very, very rare. In poorly run facilities, I heard the story, it's heartbreaking about the girl's brother. I've heard a lot of those stories. States shut those places down. If you have multiple deaths and things, probably there's some negligence going on. So we do a very good job at screening who comes in the door. We have supervised family visitations, things like that, but it's not really, just not really a big issue.
Okay, so hypothetically, my wife thinks I have an addiction to alcohol. I don't drink. But let's say she pays to send me to your facility. We live in Andover. I decide one day, I'm just not going to do it anymore. And I decide I'm going to walk out the door. How would you handle me?
I would have someone that's in recovery long-term sit and talk with you. I would notice some behaviors. You were disconnecting from group prior to, having that conversation. The kind of the atypical discharge happens days before someone actually says, I want to leave. So the better that we are at treatment, I think we're better at spotting that and having people in long-term recovery that work there at the facilities and are having conversations and sharing their experience, strength, and hope. Life gets better. Stick it out another day. Why do you think it's not a problem?
I can't take it another day.
You can't take it another day.
So do you call my wife and have her come pick me up?
I think she's going to be very mad at you, but so maybe make that phone call. But
and if she's in work and can't come and get me,
we would provide transportation.
Okay.
Yeah, and anybody that's in our facility, we do that. Provide transportation. We have vehicles there specifically for transportation. The best run treatment centers, you're sub 10% against, people leaving before the full completion. All of our centers meet that mark.
Okay.
So we're yeah.
Another question I have for you. Two of your guests get in an argument and it turns into a fist fight. What happens?
That's rare. It's rare. It's
it's rare, but it happens. So what are you going to do?
It's happened, but we're trained, all of our staff are trained in de-escalation techniques, getting in the middle, separating them. Typically what ends up happening, it's over food, it's over something stupid. We try to bring them back together and have a conversation and sit down, and if they can work it out. In the past 5 years, I can think of one time that happened. And these two gentlemen ended up shaking hands and completing treatment together. So we certainly kept an eye on it, but it was over pretty quickly.
Okay. Would you call the police?
Yeah, we have to report anything like that, any
And-
physical violence.
And once that's reported, does that get back to the state?
We have to report to the state too. Jason's going to be better at answering those questions, but any incident we have to report to the state.
Okay.
A threat, if someone makes an accusation, someone touched me, someone did this, anything whatsoever. we have to report to the state.
Okay, and how many violations, or police reports to the state are acceptable? Or does the state come in and start regulating you?
It's not a volume thing. Like Jason mentioned, if the fire department comes by and says we're dropping off free clothes or something like that, we do have to report that. So it's not the volume. The volume is low. We're not a burden on EMS or emergency services. We prove that everywhere. Nick's got some stats on that. But it has to do with the type of offense. And is it insidious? Is it recurring? Is there a problem? I've gone in, and part of the work that we've done is states will hire us to come in and turn around a program or shut it down. So we've done that work in a couple different states. One center, not run by us, not operated by us, but I looked at the compliance register and I said, this is a terrible place. There was a sexual assault between a therapist and a patient, and it happened year after year, once a year for 5 years. To me, that's a problem all the way up at the top of leadership. It's insidious within the organization, and you need to completely gut that organization. So we don't have those problems at our centers. We certainly have room for improvement. We don't do everything perfect. We're not negligent on anything. We have lots of experience. We hire very experienced people. So I think it depends on the type of stuff. If there's, abuse, sexual assault, things like that, and they really look into that stuff, and you don't really get very many strikes for that type of stuff.
Okay.
And then if there's community nuisance and things like that, we've seen, counties pull permits, in the state pull their license because it's a community nuisance.
Okay, thank you for your answers, and I appreciate the community listening. I'm trying to be a little bit of a devil's advocate for you. I live here. My kids went to school here. There were drug problems when my kids went to school here in 1980. It's just getting worse. So I'll give up my time to let anybody else ask questions.
Some of these questions we've asked in 2024 a little bit, and then, a month or two ago too, but they're good ones to ask now too. What other questions does the commission have?
Yeah,
Yes, Dave.
real quickly, whose term is intermediate care facility?
He's asking whose term is intermediate care facility.
Is that?
That is a state of Kansas definition that we incorporated into our code.
Okay, so you can't, I understand that this would have been different if you just said rehab facility.
So we do have to put the definition that the code would put it under in our notification. The law says that. And this is the closest thing, the closest name that fits what is going in here.
Yeah, but it's not, it in no way, shape, or form addresses.
That's the way the city code.
That's what the
is
law
written.
says. Okay, so we, in my humble opinion, we wouldn't be here if it were.
Would you speak into the mic so
I'm
everyone can
sorry.
hear you, Dave?
I feel
don't
like,
think I can barely hear you, so maybe start over almost.
I was asking whose term was intermediate care facility, because that's misleading. And I assume people that got notices. I feel, and whose duty is it? I guess it falls on the responsibility of a resident to look up the definition of intermediate care facility when they get a notice in the mail. True.
I suppose they can look it up in.
They
the
can look it
code,
up.
Sure. We don't define all of our terms and.
Yeah, and so it's not really our responsibility to describe what the purpose of the intermediate facility would be, and
We do
when you
what's
go to
legally
apply, do you call it an intermediate care facility?
I mean, we apply for licensed behavioral health, through the state. So we apply for, I don't know, Jason, you want to answer that?
I'm asking for
I want to be clear. Intermediate care facility is a zoning classification you all approved for the UDM. So
The
we don't-
UDM is the uniform manual,
Development
just
manual.
so everyone's clear.
Yeah.
The development manual.
So for some other facilities, like a nursing facility, you have a separate definition. You do not have a definition for a drug rehabilitation facility in your manual, in your code that you all approved.
So it's not possible to use something else?
You, in the future, you could create a new zoning classification for that and the city could approve it. You just don't have one. This is the term that the administrator felt best fits the kind of facility. And certainly, if anybody called the city and asked what this was for, you said it's not our job, but we would have explained what the facility was. It's certainly been clear at all the public hearings and all the public meetings and in the application. So we don't have a term in our zoning called drug rehabilitation facility. If we did, we probably would have used that. But this is, it has to have a special use that is available and approved by your Unified Development Manual, and this is the one that best fit.
So. Wait.
Thank you.
You're
Chairman
out of
Vance,
order.
you need,
We already had the public hearing. I'm sorry.
I thought it was a good question, Commissioner Foley. I was trying to answer why that was the term that was used.
Right. Would you gentlemen agree that that is somewhat misleading if you got a notice in the mail?
It'd be better if it was more descriptive.
And that's something that we can take up in the future. We never had that before when the UDM was created. I mean, things are changing all the time.
So when we heard this originally, nobody was here, right?
Right.
And we're like,
2024.
well, nobody cares, you know?
I would like, if it's possible, to give my other folks a chance to
Sure.
speak. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you for giving me time.
Yep.
Very, very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Unless you have a statement or
I
something.
had a question. We heard some concerns about traffic. This is a former site of a 76-bed skilled nursing facility. We heard concerns about visitation. Could the applicant talk to us a little bit about those those comings and goings of staff as compared to a 76-bed skilled nursing care facility?
I'll be happy to address that. My name is Jason Griever. I'm the Executive Director for LifeSpring Recovery Center of Andover. My address is 607 Hart Drive in Newton. Hopefully, with an opportunity to relocate to Andover at some point. The skilled nursing facility and its comparability to our staffing pattern, our comings and goings in traffic, our staffing patterns will be very, very similar. And so we will have staff come and go almost identically to how the skilled nursing facility would have traffic come and go. Most nursing homes allow visitation pretty much any time. We allow visitation for a couple of hours on Saturdays. And so we would have less traffic from visitation. And then we'd have the same amount of traffic from vendors as what a skilled nursing facility would. Our patients, you check in, they're there for 30 days and then they discharge. And so once every 30 days, you would have that individual coming and going. But other than that, the traffic pattern would be almost identical. And what was the other issue? Traffic, and there was.
Well, the question I think that I had that was already answered was how discharges were handled.
Okay.
Do you have anything additional to say there?
On discharges? Yeah. No, I think you did a pretty good job of covering it.
I do have a question on discharges. I want to know a little bit more about your scholarship program as it comes to homeless individuals. And so are they screened for an address?
Sure.
And how, if no address, how is that handled for discharge?
Sure. So I want to explain first our scholarship program. We would maintain scholarship dollars. Now, for folks who are homeless, let's start there. There are federal block grant funds that are available to provide treatment services to them. And I spent quite a bit of time in my career working for treatment facilities that provide those services to those individuals. We are not in the federal block grant network in Kansas, so we can't accept those funds. And so we wouldn't be accepting individuals who are homeless into our program unless it was a very rare exception. And an example I gave earlier today when one of the residents of Crescent Lakes came and toured, I said, you know, if there was a nephew of a member of Crescent Lakes who had fallen on hard times and didn't have insurance, but we were wanting to be good neighbors, that's probably when we'd use scholarship funds. So we don't have like a large amount of scholarship funds to provide services to people who are uninsured or underinsured or homeless. Our scholarships are kind of on a case-by-case basis. And I can tell you that most of our scholarship dollars would be used to treat individuals in this community.
So it would be a fair assessment to say that this facility wouldn't be a magnet for vagrancy.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I wanted to touch on one thing. Our first speaker mentioned the chairman, Chad Harmon. I want to say Chad's a very good friend of mine. He is the CEO of the Substance Abuse Center of Kansas, SAC, which is an organization in Wichita and Hutchinson. So he is not the chairman of LifeSpring Recovery. I'm the executive director. Chad is a member or is a resident of Andover and sent a very supportive letter to the city council in support of bringing LifeSpring in. Some other things that I want to touch on, if I could, about questions that were asked. So the question was asked, we touched a little bit about homelessness. The question was asked about outpatient. We don't provide outpatient treatment services. We don't have the space to house an outpatient program there. And so that's not a service we'll offer. So there are community partners. There's the had a great meeting last week or earlier this week with your local CCBHC. South Central Kansas Mental Health, I believe it is. And they provide some outpatient services. So we would make referrals to them. We'd make probably most of the referrals would be to private therapists just because of the population that we serve. Another question was about registered offenders. We will screen for registered drug offenders, registered sex offenders, and registered violent offenders. In fact, that's a little bit of some of the research that we did in this facility. And within half a mile, there are 12 registered offenders. There are none in Crescent Lakes, but there are registered offenders along the pathways that we're concerned about kids going to school, to and from school in. And that's available on your Butler County website if you're interested in learning more about where registered offenders are. They will not be in our facility. There was a question about making sure people aren't bringing things in. And I'd like to talk about that process. So someone, when they first come in, they meet with our admissions coordinator, and then they sign some paperwork, consents to treatment, things like that, and they're handed off to our director of nursing and our recovery support advocate supervisor. And they do a nursing screening, a medical screening, and then they go into a different room and they remove the clothing that they have on and they put on scrubs and they put on shower shoes. And then we take the clothes that they had on as well as all of the other property that they brought in. We search all of that. And then once everything's been thoroughly searched and we've made sure there are no bed bugs or anything else in their belongings, then their stuff is returned to them and then they change back out into their own clothes. We also do random searches in rooms and in common areas. We do urine drug screens to monitor to make sure that individuals haven't been using substances. We check levels, make sure that if someone is testing positive, the levels are continuing to decrease. Otherwise, we know that substances have been introduced, and then we address that. All of our staff are also trained observers and are trained to know if someone is under the influence of drugs or alcohol. There was a question about unplanned discharges, and Commissioner Israel, I think you asked, would your wife be contacted? And the answer is, if you had listed your wife as your emergency contact. So anytime somebody comes in, they have to provide an emergency contact. We consider someone deciding to leave the facility to be a mental health emergency for them. And so we contact whoever their emergency contact is. And Gary, we would say to your wife that, hey, Gary apparently decided he didn't want to be here anymore. He is outside our building right now. You may want to come pick him up. Or we would go out and offer you the ride, as Doug had said. Doug also mentioned about adverse incident reporting. So we're licensed by the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services, which has requirements for reporting certain incidents, and those include elopements. So if we do have someone just decide to leave, we have to report that to the state. Anytime there's contact with law enforcement, then we have to report that to the state. If there's an overdose, if there's a natural disaster in the area, if there's something that happens with our facility, like a fire, all those things have to be reported to the state. The state investigates each adverse incident report that is submitted, and they look for seriousness. So if it's a law enforcement contact, what was the nature of that law enforcement contact? If it's serious enough, then the state sends somebody to the facility to do an in-person investigation. Same thing with elopement. If they are seeing too many elopements from a facility, then they will arrive and go over all of your processes and protocols with you. One of the things I want to touch on, and it kind of gone back and forth on this, but the questions seem to be, are my kids going to be at risk? Is crime going to increase? And are my property values going to go down? And that seems to be the primary concerns. Doug shared a little bit about our business model and what we call our payer mix, which is a combination of private insurance, private pay, those scholarship funds, and Medicaid. We do reserve a few beds for people with Medicaid. I'll tell you that the reimbursement rate in Kansas currently for Medicaid is $206. $206 is not a sustainable reimbursement rate for the type of facility that LifeSpring is. We could not stay in operation if we were heavily Medicaid reliant, just because of our staffing patterns, our medical services, those things. So our private pay rate is $625 a day if you are in our inpatient program. Our detox rate is $850 a day. So that's what people are paying to come in for those who are private pay. If they have private insurance, then if they have a policy like my policy, then I have a deductible that I have to pay, and starting in July, that all renewed. And so I have a personal deductible of $5,000, and then I have co-insurance that I have to pay up until I paid my max out of pocket that I have to pay with them. So someone coming into our program would have to pay upfront their $5,000 deductible, as well as any co-insurance that they would owe. So when we're talking about who's coming into the facility, who are we bringing in? We're bringing in people who can afford to pay $625 or $850 a day, or who have insurance and can afford to pay a large deductible upfront. Those are not people who generally have histories of harming children or of breaking into people's garages or anything, any of those kind of criminal concerns. My understanding of this hearing or this meeting is the City Council sent back for reconsideration 4 of the 14 factors for you to evaluate facts about those factors. So I want to touch on all of those 4. And so factor 10 concerns a property and surrounding neighborhood. And Les Mingus described this as a former skilled nursing facility located behind a medical office and shopping area. City staff identified residential property to the north, medical uses to the south and east, commercial property to the west, and residential property across Central Avenue. So if you look at the map up there, one of the things that has been said was, wouldn't this be better in a medical zone, or wouldn't this be better in a commercial zone? Well, this is a mixed zone, and there's a commercial strip mall right there. We are directly behind a medical facility and across the parking lot from an assisted care facility. So we are reusing a purpose-built residential healthcare facility, and like the former skilled nursing facility, it involves overnight occupancy, 24-hour staffing, medical services, meals, deliveries, visitors, and transportation. The building is set back behind the medical office and strip mall, and the parcel does not directly front a public road, sidewalk, or neighborhood walkway. City staff has repeatedly found the proposed use consistent with the property's character. So the questions, what about our kids who are walking to school? I would assert that the individuals that we're serving are not going to be a threat to children who are walking to school. There's no evidence to support that people in treatment centers who have our business model are a threat to children. The children are going to be walking out in front of the medical facility that we're behind. There are no sidewalks that lead to Crescent Lakes. There's a fence that divides us all along there. And if it's a concern about the fence, we'll build a 10-foot fence on our side if that helps people to feel better about the people that we're serving. Factor 11 is potential detrimental effects. City staff found in both 2024 and 2026 that this use is no more intense than the skilled nursing facility that was previously there. Our patients voluntarily choose treatment. No one is court-ordered to attend LifeSpring. Every person is medically, clinically, behaviorally, and safety screened. We will not admit anyone on an offender registry list or anyone whose needs exceed what we can safely manage. We will primarily serve commercial insurance and private pay residents with a limited number of Medicaid beds, primarily for appropriate Andover residents. Patients remain on our property unless transported or participating in a supervised activity. They do not use neighborhood streets, sidewalks, parks, or businesses for unsupervised activity. The facility will have controlled access, monitored cameras, alarmed exterior doors, screened visitors, perimeter checks, coordinated transportation, and 24-hour staffing that will include both direct care staff and nursing. There have been some concerns raised about crime, children, and property values, and those should be evaluated against facts and evidence, not stereotypes of people who have a substance use disorder. So there was a peer-reviewed study by Bondurant, Lindo, and Swenson in the Journal of Urban Economics that found that greater access to treatment facilities was associated with reductions in violent and financially motivated crime, including homicide, aggravated assault, robbery, and motor vehicle theft. It did not support the claim that treatment facilities cause crime to increase. No evidence has been presented that LifeSpring creates a particular danger to children. Our patients are screened, supervised, and remain on a site that does not directly connect to neighborhood roads, sidewalks, parks, or school routes. Concern alone does not create risk. Proximity does not equal risk. There was a 2014 Central Virginia study that reported lower home prices near certain treatment facilities. And that's one that has been quoted here, where they said there was an 8% reduction. That was in a particular state, I think it was in Virginia, and it was a treatment center that moved into an impoverished neighborhood. And property values had been decreasing and continued to decrease, even though the treatment center had moved in. So later research by Horn, Joshi, and McLean examined whether facilities caused lower values or simply located in areas where values were already lower. Using a stronger spatial difference in differences method, they found no evidence that treatment centers affected residential property values. More recent research has also found no statistically significant effect. The evidence does not support claims that our patients will bring crime, endanger children, wander through neighborhoods, or reduce property values. Those claims reflect harmful stereotypes about people with a medical condition, not evidence about our facility. Factor 12 concerns a comprehensive plan, and Les Mingus explained that the city center place type intentionally allows medical facilities alongside residential and commercial uses. The current staff report identifies medical campus or hospital as a typical city use and concludes that this special use is well suited for the area. LifeSpring is already within the medical and commercial setting people say that it should occupy. Factor 14 balances applicant hardship against any public benefit from denial. City staff found in 2024 and again in 2026 that this minor change in use creates no anticipated detriment to public health, safety, or welfare. Approval will return a vacant healthcare building to productive use, create jobs, support local vendors, and add medically supervised detoxification and inpatient substance use treatment. The 2025 Butler County Community Health Needs Assessment found that 63% of respondents identified mental and behavioral health as a leading community health concern, and 72% said substance use services are difficult to access. No measurable benefit from denial has been established. The evidence does not show that the denial would reduce crime, protect property values, make children safer, or improve neighborhood conditions. The evidence, the facts, support affirmative findings on factors 10, 11, 12, and 14. So Nick Motu will now present Ascension's actual operating data and documented hardship and economic impact, unless you have questions specifically for me.
No.
Any questions? I guess not. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Steve Stark. I'm a partner with the Wichita law firm Fleeson, Gouin, Colson and Kitch. I live at 629 North Crestridge Court in Wichita. I think the LifeSpring representatives have adequately and credibly covered the factors on remand, numbers 10 through 14. And I think all the additional questions that have come from the audience here. My focus instead will be on a case study comparison next door. Bell Villa Assisted Living Facility, 408 East Central, separated from LifeSpring facility by a parking strip. Both facilities offer 24-hour supervised care, apartment-style living, LifeSpring 60 to 85 beds, BV 75 to 100 beds, on-site meals, medical treatment and management, on-staff nursing, recreational programming. LifeSpring average residential stay is about 28 days, max of 90, BV longer term. Both facilities are one story, similar architectural style and coloring, and they each have their own on-site parking. Both facilities are in the MXR zoning district. Both have or are seeking similar type of special use. BV, skilled nursing facility. LifeSpring, intermediate care facility. BV got its special use in 2007. LifeSpring's predecessor owner got its special use in 2024 and is now reapplying for the same special use. It's an important point I want to bring up. Both serve a protected class of the population. Bell Villa as to the aged and infirm. LifeSpring as to recovering drug and alcoholic addiction. This is a key similarity. Under federal Fair Housing Act and Americans with Disabilities Act laws and regulations, both of the facility's clientele are considered as disabled or handicapped, and thus entitled to certain legal protections when it comes to their housing. Generally, FHA and ADA prohibit discrimination against the disabled in their housing. These laws apply to municipal zoning restrictions and actions, such as if a municipality was to adopt exclusionary zoning practices that have the intended effect of isolating, segregating, or excluding the disabled. In this case study, I'm bringing to your attention, comparing Belle Villa and LifeSpring, the question to be asked is there a real difference between the two next door facilities? More importantly, if there is a difference that purports to justify denial of the special use for the LifeSpring facility, does it withstand scrutiny under FHA and ADA anti-discrimination laws and principles? I would submit both facilities ought to be treated similarly for zoning purposes under FHA and ADA analysis. Respectfully urge the Planning Commission to re-recommend approval of this requested special use for intermediate care facility yet again. Commission has recommended approval 3 times already, twice in 2024, and again in June of this year. To assist City Council's ultimate determination, I would suggest that your decision reference the additional facts and testimony, not fear and speculation, presented today bearing upon the remand criteria factors 10 through 14. LifeSpring sincerely desires to be a good neighbor. It has reached out to the community, hosting multiple open houses and guided tours. It's been very transparent in its plans of operation. On behalf of LifeSpring, appreciate very much your favorable recommendation of approval. Thank you.
If you'd stay there for a moment, please. Any questions? Dave?
Are you suggesting that we would be in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act under some sort of discrimination if we were to?
There is that potential, sir.
Just wanted to make sure everybody heard that.
Any other questions? Thank you. Any more comments from the applicant or questions? Oh. Dan?
Not sure which of you to direct this to, so I'll ask and then whoever wants can stand up and take it. Did you consider other locations for this facility in the area?
If you would come to the podium, please. Thank you.
Yeah, every time we open up a facility, we do a market study, feasibility study. We look for where we believe to be the most appropriate property to serve the most good and to fit into zoning requirements. So we considered lots of properties, lots of areas. This, in my opinion, is the best location and where we can do the most good. And again, I don't believe that we will do any harm. And as I said earlier, if facilities that I opened and operated caused harm in the community, I wouldn't do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions of the applicant?
I don't have a question for the applicant specifically, but I do have a question on
Staff?
more so the special use permit itself. If this time is appropriate.
Yep, to staff. Yep.
So one thing that came to my mind specifically came from the city council meeting from last week is that there was continuing concern that had been repeated over again about, they're not doing methadone treatment. They're not taking on court-ordered inpatients. And so would it be appropriate to, within the special use permit, to include those stipulations that cannot occur at this location? When Councilmember Tim Brunson, Tim, I apologize, I just messed up his name. No, Tim Brunson. He's asked, if we approve the permit and these activities occur, are we able to withdraw that? And the answer from council was no. And so I would like to ask the question, can these be incorporated into that special use permit?
I think you can place conditions on the special use, but the ones that have been articulated are likely going to run afoul of the equal protection clause of the Constitution. So to say that you have to be a private pay person or have the ability to pay to be served in this facility has a disproportionate effect, quite frankly. Courts have generally held has a disproportionate effect on minorities and others who are seeking treatment. So my advice would be, no, I don't think you can condition the use of the facility on a particular kind of guest. And I realize it was unpopular, but one statement that was made is absolutely correct, which are alcoholics and addicts seeking recovery are a protected class under the Federal Fair Housing Act, under the Americans with Disability Act, and not mentioned under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. So as you do your deliberations and focus, please focus on use, traffic, density, the things that we always focus on in our factors, because I believe it would be unlawful to focus on a restriction on the nature of these guests any more than it would be to say we're not going to allow them because they're old. I think under those statutes, I wish to be clear that I think it's under current law as interpreted, it is the same thing. So I'm just kind of, as a protection for the city, I'm asking you to focus on the things that are appropriate for zoning, because zoning or taking a zoning action that would be adverse to a protected class would place the city at risk.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
What now?
And if anybody, because I hate applause, if anybody thinks that means I'm telling you what to do, I am not. I am just suggesting where your focuses need to be.
Are you advising us to circumscribe detrimental effects on nearby properties then? Because, or how would you propose we define detrimental effects to not run afoul?
If the use, density, and look, for the record, you're in a very difficult position. This was a skilled nursing facility with effectively similar density, use, care, parking, air, light, buffer, everything. You're in a difficult position. So if you're interested in doing that, while property values would be a consideration, the courts have been very clear that saying this will adversely affect property values because of the nature of the guest, that would not be a good way to approach it, quite frankly. By way of example, if somebody bought a house in one of these areas under Kansas law and turned it into a sober home, had less than 10 people there who they were treating for alcohol, the state law would prohibit us from zoning that away. That is something that can happen today. So I just want to focus on the use of the land, the property. I know some people have talked about what they should build here. It's a difficult situation because it's built. It's here, the property. You have to look at it not as raw land, but as it exists today. Again, that's the best advice I can give. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for staff. So if this special use permit, if the owners were set to sell the property and it went to another rehabilitation group, would the permit still be effective or would the permit be void?
The special use would stay in effect.
Okay, so let's say they decide to sell the property and it now comes back to be a skilled nursing home. Would that permit have to be a new special use permit have to be issued?
Yeah, in this zoning district, a skilled nursing facility is a special use, same as this one is. So yes, they would have to come back for a hearing.
Okay, thank you.
So you were saying essentially that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, if we were to not recommend this, it could be illegal.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you're going to not recommend this, it needs to be based on something other than the protected class that constitutes the
that's what I
guests of
meant.
this facility.
Sorry.
Not that you should accept comment at this time, but under state law, there is a specific rule called plebiscite, and you must consider the findings and factors and the nature of the opposition. The majority of what the people want is not a factor. It is considered inappropriate in your judicial capacity. They have a term for it called plebiscite, sometimes
Plebiscites.
pronounced plebiscite. You cannot take an action based on what the majority of people want for the community. You have to base it upon the factors and the use of this particular facility. That, to be clear, that doesn't mean you don't consider the comments that were made, the nature of the comments that were made, or the nature of the opposition. Those are all appropriate. Considering the number of people one way or the other would not be a legal determination.
Plebiscite. Was that the term?
Any more questions of staff?
My question would be for the people, if whatever we decide, where does their next step if this, is that city council?
Yeah, so if we don't do anything, it goes back to the city council.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they held to the same?
Same rules, same quasi judicial responsibilities.
Including
It is a-
Americans with Disabilities
It is a very difficult thing for them because they are elected officials, but the law is very clear that for zoning matters, when they're considering administrative matters, they sit in a quasi judicial capacity as a judge, having to look at the facts and make the best determination on the facts as the way they are presented and the way they are before them. And before somebody asks, because there has been a very thorough public hearing at the city council, I would not expect there to be another one since it is not legally required. It wasn't legally required tonight either, but I think you all recognize that you went from 0 to 60 in about 1 month. And so you wanted to hear what people had to say, and I admire you for that.
If the matter on the special use stuff has kind of come to a close, I wanted to come back around on the issue of a barrier. There was a sentiment provided that if, the general public brought up that, maybe that cedar fence isn't quite substantial enough to mitigate some of the concerns for the closest neighbors to the facility. What kind of barriers might we additionally consider or recommend to either site planning? Is that something that we could do, is say, hey, let's put in this barrier in between, or?
That's a very good question. Your last recommendation to the city council was to recommend approval unanimously without conditions. You could place a lawful condition on the recommendation. It could be conditioned upon an additional barrier or a barrier of another nature being erected between this and the residential property. I think, and these people who are more intelligent on the manual than I am are going to tell you that the height limit is 8 feet, not 10 feet, as was suggested. That would be the highest you could require.
I believe we could just.
They could apply for a
that
variance.
It needs to go to the site planning committee to have them review what needs to be for screening.
There is an approved site plan in effect on the property, so unless they changed it, we can't make them go just to be looked at.
Oh, thank you.
So, to clarify, what kind of capacity would we have to say, hey, let's take in some of that input from the public and request a larger barrier be put in?
You could say you want them to put another fence along that northern property line, for example. There is an existing fence that the residents mentioned. You could require, another one.
Right.
The
I mean,
maximum-
that barrier currently has varying degrees of repair. And so I think that would help. I mean, it seems that I recognize the gentleman.
Yeah, I was just.
Podium, please.
I was just going to say that I'd be happy to meet with the neighbors and determine what it is that they want, and we would build a fence that, fits the guidelines. We're not breaking a law, so if it's 8 feet and shrubbery or whatever the case might be. We want to be good neighbors, and, I think once the facility opens, certainly we'll do this before, and then once the facility opens, coming over and touring the facility, meeting our staff, seeing some of the folks at graduation, I'm positive that a lot of these concerns are going to go away. It's been my experience 90 times out of 90. But we will happily build it. You don't have to write that in, or you could, but I commit to doing that on record. So thank you.
Marshall, if I could give you a little advice here, the zoning regulations limit a fence in this MXR zone to 6 feet. So if you were to attach a condition for a taller screening fence, it would have to come back to you all as the Board of Zoning Appeals to give a variance to that maximum height of 6 feet.
Mhm. Well, as I had stated, I hadn't really brought up any specifications on height. It's just I observed a varying degree of repair upon the current fencing. And so
Sure.
I think, even in my neighborhood, we've had fences and varying levels of repair, and one fence that was just completely ignored. And so those are just my thoughts on kind of things that would help the general public mitigate some of their concerns.
Certainly. And we as staff have been out there many times, visited the site. One of the conditions we've noted is that the 6-foot screening fence is generally 1.5 feet or 2 feet below the curb of the parking lot, because those residential lots across the property line were built lower.
Right.
So it doesn't have the full effect of a 6-foot fence, and that's one of those criteria that you would look at as the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you.
The variance would allow it to go how high? Is 20%, right?
They can request a number and you can grant it. Or you could grant a lesser variance, but not more.
I have a question for staff. Do we need to go back through the staff items and staff and commission council items and all that again? Or can we just
Council
make
asks you to reconsider 10, 11, 12, and 14. You are welcome to read them all out loud if you want, but those are the 4 items that the council wants you to specifically talk about.
Okay.
And they're the ones that are highlighted in the packet.
It's getting late. Thank you for everyone for coming. No matter what happens here, I appreciate you, each of you coming. It is a tough position for us to be in. I definitely want to mention that everything that was said, of course, is recorded for inclusion into minutes, and so it can be viewed by everybody, which I think is outstanding.
Would you like the staff recommendations to be read into the minutes for 10, 11, 12, and 14?
I think they can be put in, right? The staff recommendations from 10, 11, 12, and 14.
They would be, Mr. Colson's saying he will read them out loud for you if you would like.
That'd be great. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Would you read those, Dan?
I will try.
I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
All right. I'm just going to pick up with number 10. The question is, what are the current land uses, character, and condition of the subject property and the surrounding neighborhood? Staff reports, the subject property abuts 3 homes in the Crescent Lake subdivision, a single-family residential neighborhood built in the late 1990s to early 2000s to the north, a medical clinic, the Bell Villa 80-bed assisted living facility built in 2005 to the east, and a large commercial multi-tenant retail building built in 1982 to the west. The property's access comes from a drive off East Central Avenue, a 4-lane arterial street with a 2022 traffic count of 7,505 trips per day. The Thomas Akers and Schmidt Edition single-family residences built in the 1990s are across Central Avenue to the south. 3 Andover schools are in the vicinity. Measured in a straight line from building to building, Andover Central High School lies approximately 1,250 feet from the subject property. The Andover Central Middle School lies approximately 2,200 feet to the southeast, and Sunflower Elementary School is nearly 2,400 feet to the south. The facility is not directly adjacent to the public sidewalk system on Central Avenue and is accessible to it via a private drive with the medical clinic to the south in between. I'm going to pause here and ask if you want to discuss these in turn or have me read all 4 and then discuss.
Would you like to read all 4 or discuss each individually?
I'm good with what he's already read and what we decided previously and what I've listened to tonight. So I'll pass.
So then you would concur with what staff has presented?
Yes.
I would add that I tend to concur in this case because this is largely a factual account.
Yeah.
It does get into some of the nuance of what might be considered character of the area. But I don't see much here to actively disagree with or do more than affirm.
I would concur myself.
So Andover Central is about 1,250 feet away. So that's about a quarter mile, and the other 2 are about half a mile. Is that right? I would have to concur with these facts. Dave?
I do not concur.
You don't concur?
May I ask the nature of your, which elements you do not concur with?
All of them. Did you just read all 4 of them?
Yeah, let's read all 4 of them.
Okay. Number 11, would the proposed special use of the subject property allow land uses which might have detrimental effects on nearby properties, and if so, how? The proposed use is not anticipated to generate more traffic, noise, lighting, or activity than the site's prior permitted use as a skilled nursing care facility due to similar operational characteristics. The certificate of occupancy issued for the site's prior use as Victoria Falls Skilled Nursing Facility authorized a maximum occupancy limit of 321 persons. That maximum occupancy is anticipated to decrease with the change in use. The applicant has testified at the July 14th, 2026 council meeting that LifeSpring Recovery of Andover holds a state of Kansas license for up to 80 beds, but intends to operate at a maximum census of 65 residents. The applicant has further testified that the facility will employ approximately 45 full-time staff. Additionally, the applicant testified that the facility will be staffed and monitored 24 hours a day and maintains an on-site security camera system. Regarding resident departures, the applicant testified that residents who elect to leave against medical advice follow a structured release process rather than an unsupervised walkout. The existing landscape buffer exceeds the UDM Article 3, Section 3.4.8, pages 25 to 26 of the, exceeds the UDM. Landscaping and buffers 5, table of required buffers. Standards for an LB landscape buffer between SF2 single family and MXR mixed residential zoning classifications. The applicant has revitalized the existing landscaping to conform to the approved plan, which consists of a 6-foot cedar fence and landscaping buffer. Staff note that the 6-foot solid screening and 100-foot setback standards cited in public testimony at the City Council meeting on July 14th, 2026 apply to commercial and industrial zoning districts. The subject property retains the underlying MXR zoning district, and the proposed special use authorization does not alter the buffers between zoning district standards that applies. Number 12, how would the requested special use conform with the city's comprehensive plan and other adopted master plans and policies? Staff, the Activate Andover Comprehensive Plan 2024 to 2033, Place Type Framework Plan Figure 3.1, page 52, proposes the future land use of the subject property as city center. The plan describes city centers as being designated along key road corridors seeking to leverage transportation infrastructure and economic development potential, and notes the city centers typically draw from multiple neighborhoods and patrons from surrounding areas, becoming a regional draw depending on tenants. A medical campus hospital is listed as a typical land use within this place type. As the comprehensive plan anticipates, the city center uses may serve a broader regional population rather than only the immediately surrounding neighborhood. The facility's regional service area is consistent with the place type's intended function. Staff find the proposed special use suited to the comprehensive plan future land for use for this property. 14. How would the potential loss in value or hardship imposed on the applicant compare to the relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare if there is a change from the current use to the requested use? Hardship to applicant. This is staff's report. Hardship to applicant. The applicant holds active state of Kansas licensure to operate the proposed facility, has made capital improvements to the building, replacement of HVAC units, flooring, and installation of a security camera system, per testimony at the July 16, 2026 council meeting, and has represented that staff hiring is underway. The subject property has been vacant since the closure of its prior skilled nursing use in the early 2020s and remains built out specifically for care facility use. Denial of the special use would leave the applicant without a viable path to occupy the building for its improved purpose and would likely extend the property's vacancy. Relative gain to public welfare. Staff do not identify evidence in the record establishing that reactivating the building as a licensed, staffed, and monitored intermediate care facility would create a net detriment to public health, safety, or welfare as compared to the permitted extended care skilled nursing facility and continued vacancy. Concerns raised in public comment about potential impacts to surrounding property values cited in both the written and verbal testimony at the City Council meeting on July 14th claim estimates of 8 to 18% decline in property value when similar facilities were located within 1/8 of a mile of residential homes were not sourced to a study specific to this facility type, this market, or comparable Kansas municipalities, and staff are not aware of independent data provided by real estate professionals establishing a measurable impact on surrounding property values from this specific proposed use.
Thank you, Dan. Any comments from anyone up here on those findings? Anyone who doesn't agree with one of them or thoughts?
On factor 11, I know we've had many assertions and feelings that it would be detrimental. But again, those are feelings and assertions and not proof that the facility would be detrimental.
The property values, you're saying?
Well,
I
mean, detrimental to the public and detrimental to the property values. So for that reason, I concur with 11. On 12, the question about the comprehensive plan matching with the facility, I think staff aptly addressed that earlier. And I'm satisfied with that addressing of that situation. Factor 14, I think the biggest problem there, and that's the one that I was on the fence on, because the public benefit. So there were talk about discharges and that these people would be discharged into the community without any type of follow-up or what have you. We heard that they would be discharged to a relative or they'd be driven to the airport. Same information we got when we first visited this topic. I think after hearing from the applicant that he pretty much handled the questions about security measures and discharge processes that most people were worried about. And so where I was on the fence on factor 14, I'm in agreement with factor 14 now.
Okay, thank you. Other comments?
I would say that thank you to staff. I feel that there was a great deal of care put into keeping these materials focused on appropriate reasons. And that's where we have to find our grounds for disagreement. I note very clearly that this this document produced by staff does not really address the fact that this is a drug rehabilitation center. After hearing from, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but the attorney, if I may, I think I see the reasoning for that in a way that was unclear to me before this meeting. So I remain on the fence.
Okay. Anybody else have comment?
Well, I also would like to thank staff for the information that they've given us that keeps us based on the facts, and also the information that was given by the applicant on the processes and the things that they're planning on doing that address factors 10, 11, 12, and 14. So I would concur with the facts that we have.
Other comment?
Well, I would add, I came here tonight hoping that the public would give us some comparables and prove to us that we were taking on a terrible thing, that there was going to be all kinds of crime, that police department was going to be out there all the time based on some actual comparables. I didn't hear any. So I've got to go along with everyone else on this number 14, that you all did not present a case to me that showed me that we were in a bad way. That's just my opinion.
I'm good.
You're good? That means you concur?
Based on, if you look at the facts,
and everything else is speculation and what we've been told our duties are.
Could you speak in the microphone, Dave? Sorry.
Sorry, based on facts, which is what I feel like we've been advised to do. You have to concur with most of that. I'm a little upset as with Dan about the use. It was a little muddy, but in general, I feel like we've been in no uncertain terms told that we would be in violation of certain protected rights. You know, and what do you do after that? So your hands are tied. So I'm going to concur.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one known to bring Andover into a big, huge lawsuit, so. But it's a majority anyway, right?
Marshall, you have any comments?
Is this the vote? or-
No, just
So,
comments on if you agree with
No,
the factors or.
Simply put, I have no basis to dissent. So that would opt.
Well,
me
we're
to
not voting.
Right, that's my
I
point.
just,
Is like,
any comment that you have
Fair enough.
on the factors?
I will in unison state my opinion before the vote, so.
Because if we do send this back with another approval, we have been specifically tasked with making sure that everything in 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 12, and 14, that is the sum of our reasoning, basically. So we need to be very cautious to make sure if there's anything we need to add there, that we have within the realm of appropriate discussions that we have come up with that is not covered in what staff said. I think that's part of where I remain on the fence is I feel like a student who's been given an assignment and I want to do a good job on that assignment, but I remain torn because, well.
With public. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this is very difficult.
Very difficult.
This is, the end of this year will be my 3 years and I'll probably be done. I'll just quit. Well, I mean, I'm in my term and be done, but this is easily the most difficult, not just because all of you are here, because, you know, being in the Andover area, I understand it's difficult, but I feel like our task is to look at the facts. And I know if you live right next door, your fact is that you're going to have that facility close to you. But when I look at these findings, it's hard for me to say that these are incorrect and I can't concur. And then when I look at the fact that we're not supposed to discriminate from one group of people to another, that makes it even more difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult. And we're also just an appointed body here to makes a recommendation. You know, we're not voted on by any of you. You know, when one of these 7 positions comes available because someone leaves or whether it's termed out or moves, someone's recommended to the city council and the mayor appoints it, and that's how we're on this committee. Whereas the city council, of course, all the city council, they run for the seat and then they're voted on by everybody. Like I said, this last few days, I haven't known for sure what to do. But as I've prayed about it and thought about it, I feel like I have to stick to the facts, and that's what we're charged to do, even though it's unbelievably difficult. And I know quite a few of you out there. It's very tough, but when I look at the facts, I feel like I have to concur with those. And I feel like the governing body that really should take this up, we're just, as you all know, we're making a recommendation either way. Or if we don't take action, it goes back to the city council. I feel like the city council, considering they are elected by all of you, is the better body to take care of this. We wanted to have, even though I knew it was going to be late, it was worthwhile. And really wanted all of it on public record. So no matter what we do, city council, whether they're watching tonight or any citizens in Andover, can see and hear every comment that was made by the public, the applicant, those of us up here, as well as city staff. So in the end, like I mentioned, I do not feel like I feel like I have to concur with these facts.
Well, based on that, Mr. Chairman, having considered the evidence and the factors to evaluate the application, I, Gary Israel, move that we recommend to the governing body that case number Z-SU26-0002 be approved based on the findings of the Planning Commission on findings 10, 11, 12, and 14. As recorded in the summary of the hearing.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
Okay, we have one no and the rest yes. So the motion passes. I'm really sorry to all of you that came out tonight and we're looking for a different result. Yeah.
Mr. Chairperson, I make a motion that we recess for just 5 minutes.
Second.
You need to get a yes and no on our motion to recess.
I will second a motion. for a
Yes.
5-minute
Do we have a
recess.
yes for the motion to dismiss?
Yes.
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 Opposed, no.
Recess.
Motion passes.
5 minutes.
Back in session.
Mr. Chairperson, I make a motion to resume the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, next is the CIP presentation, item 5.2.
Good evening. I'm here tonight as I am every year, the one time they let me speak. Per state statute, it states that whenever we have a planning commission that has adopted and certified a comprehensive plan, that no public improvement or public facility or public utility shall be constructed without first being submitted to you before it goes before the council for adoption. So tonight I bring to you the capital improvement plan that has been presented to the council as part of the 2027 budget planning. It is there in your packet, the connection between the capital improvement plan and the work that you do is simply being able to put the planning vision that you have into action by addressing it with budget priority. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to stand for them at this time.
I do have a question. How, we're always looking at replacing vehicles and things like that. Are we doing a good job at maintaining the vehicles that we have until it's time to cycle them out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So currently we work with Enterprise. They manage our entire fleet. And we've been doing that, Jenny, I believe since the tornado for sure, 2022. And when we had quite a few vehicles, 19, I think you said earlier today, that were lost due to the tornado. And it's a lease to own type program and maintenance is included in those costs and staff have been very pleased with that.
Yeah, and I want to thank the city staff, especially the street department, for paving the street out in front of my house. It is so smooth. It is so nice.
And mine's still rock.
Now, do you need a motion or anything for us to approve that then?
You just got to stroke a check. I bet you the city would take your donation and then they would pave your street.
I think I got $5 in the bank.
That's a start. All right.
Yes, I do need a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, make a motion to approve the 2027 to 2031 capital improvement plan as presented.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have a second? Marshall?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I just want to make it clear to anyone that's watching or out in the stands here tonight, we're able to see this ahead of time in advance. So these 3 minutes that we're talking about, this is not just the only time that we're reviewing this. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval, please say aye. Please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes. Let's move on then to the item 5.3, the comprehensive plan review.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairperson and members of the Planning Commission, each year you all have on one of your agendas this item to review progress towards the ideals set forth in the comprehensive plan, talk about any possible amendments or issues that you all have, and that's kind of it. One thing I did want to highlight put in my staff report there, an example of something that has happened recently, which is encouraging toward the comprehensive plan's goals. The Hodges 8th development that is in the approvals process right now is a large duplex development in an area that has the
Hey guys, welcome in.
mixed residential place type. For which a duplex development like that is exactly the kind of thing that we would expect to see and that we would encourage in that sort of area. So that's just one example of how the comprehensive plan is informing our action as we develop it.
Did we adopt that in 23 or 22?
The comprehensive plan?
The comprehensive plan.
Was the ordinance in 23?
Right. The legwork was in 23
Yeah.
for adoption
Yeah.
to be effective 24.
I just wanted to mention, Gary, were you a part of that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was. It was really neat. I mean, we had the consultant here and we had a lot of community stakeholders, fire,
Oh, yeah.
fire chief,
Stuff on the walls.
school superintendent. There must have been 60, 70 people in here. And we had, the very start of it was posters all around the wall in here. And people would write down what they thought Andover needed to do and what was important. So that was the very start of it. But I was a part of that process, I guess is what I'm saying. And then if you ever have the chance to be a part of that in several years, I would encourage you to be. It was very interesting. So that's, any questions of staff on that?
And you don't have to
Yeah,
make
just
any
review,
amendments
right?
or anything.
Okay.
Right.
No.
Right.
But
Wow.
another example you could have had in there is Yorktown. Excuse me. You know how we've made the improvement from Central up to 13th Street? I love taking that. It's a little slow at 30 miles an hour, but that's going to be a really nice development there and close for people to appreciate both parks, Central and 13th Street.
The two Vista Ridges as well on either side of Yorktown. That area is set aside for exactly that kind of use.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, let's move on to 5.4 then, which is that final PUD on Vista Ridge Second.
All right, yeah, here we have a final PUD for the Vista Ridge Second Edition, second phase, to be clear. The first phase was approved previously, and this is the second phase of what we anticipate being a 4-phase development. It may end up being 3, but I'm guessing 4. This second phase would contain 17 lots for single-family housing, retaining the R2 or SF2 medium-density residential district that the preliminary PUD established for the entire neighborhood. Bring the total for the Vista Ridge Second up to 53 total lots out of the planned 111 that there will be in total. And there's only one thing here that's really abnormal. It's pretty routine kind of phasing exercise. The lot numbering that you'll notice doesn't start over at lot 1 on this. They continue the numbering from what the first phase had left off on, so that instead of going from, lot 20 into lot 1, but it's in the second phase, it's lot 21. So that's not necessarily normal practice, but it's also not against the rules, just something I wanted to point out in case that looked strange, because there is no lot 1 in this phase. But other than that, staff don't have any outstanding comments on this. Our fire marshal is satisfied. Like I
Is this,
said,
I'm sorry, is this the one that was going to have patio homes? This part? The other part?
No.
Okay. The first? That was the first? Okay.
oh, and the subdivision committee did see this last week and unanimously recommended that you all approve it.
Is that reserve just going to be a pond? Probably. It's pretty big. I assume that's not a pool.
There's 2 reserves on the south side of the plat that both have detention ponds that are connected together in series. Those are built as a part of phase 1, which is very, very close to the end of completion. Again, this is on the east side of Yorktown Road. There is a reserve you can see actually on the plans on the screen here. At the far north end, that will be an additional detention pond. That pond is not needed until what will likely be the 3rd phase, where the area that drains northeast to that area will be developed. So there are 2 existing ponds in those reserves and a 3rd reserve with a future pond.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? So you guys, a couple of you saw this in subdivision already?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion unless someone has questions.
I got you.
Want the applicant to speak?
Oh, yes. Is the applicant here? I'm sorry. No, that's great. You please come up, state, I apologize. You can be the 31st person tonight.
No, Chris Rose with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. And we agree with staff comments. We've made the revisions per their comments on earlier, I think last week or something like that. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. I don't think that I do. Gary, you said they were all covered in subdivision?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry to keep you so late, but thanks for coming. That was pretty easy for you. Yeah, sorry about that. If no more questions, let's get a motion going.
I, Dan Colson, move that the planning commission accept the recommendation of the subdivision committee to approve the Vista Ridge Second Edition, Second Phase Final PUD.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to recommend to accept the recommendation for the subdivision to approve the Vista Ridge second phase final PUD. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, another final PUD, 5.5, that's the Prairie Creek 8th.
So here we have a very, very similar situation. This is the 8th phase of a multi-phase residential development. In this case, this would be the penultimate, the second to last phase. So we anticipate there being one more after this, and then Prairie Creek will be entirely built out finally. This 8th phase would feature 36 residential lots and would connect the existing East Arrowhead Street back onto itself to form a loop. Currently, it's Arrowhead Street. In the subdivision committee meeting, we determined that the name would be changed to Arrowhead Loop. So that is now depicted on this plat, and that's what it would become once this goes into effect. Right now, it's just a stub because it doesn't have the loop. Same as the previous one, this has the R2 or SF2 single-family residential medium-density district zoning and would contain a bunch of single-family homes. The only thing that's really worth pointing out here, as in other areas in Prairie Creek, there are some lots that are smaller than the typical minimum lot size. That was part of the intention of the PUD here, so that's not strange. Just in case some of the lots look small to you, that's why.
Thank you. So this is the northeast corner.
That's correct.
You saw this in subdivision also?
Yep. I'm the one who pushed for loop.
Oh, yeah?
We have the same applicant is on this one as well.
Yeah. If the applicant, if you want to add, if you just come up and add any comments.
Chris Rose with Baughman Company, agent for the applicant. Applicant agrees with staff comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So this is the final phase?
No, there's one more phase.
Okay.
On that little vicinity map there, it's kind of the east or the easterly side that's kind of just north-south. We have that one last phase right there, and we'll be complete. 20 years, and we'll finally have it done.
Any questions of the applicant?
No.
Oh, thank you. Thanks again for coming. If you're married, tell your wife we're sorry. Thanks for coming though. Kept you out late.
Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, will make a motion to accept the recommendation of the subdivision committee to approve the Prairie Creek Addition 8th phase final PUD.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Israel, make a motion that we recess the Planning Commission and convene the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Let's move then on to item 5.6, which is the variance at 424 East Flint Hills. On my checklist, I think it's 5.5. Is that right? We're on 5.6.
Yep, just whichever number it is. I'm sorry if there's
That's
a
okay.
typo.
No problem. I just want to make sure I wasn't wrong. I now call agenda item 5.6, which is a public hearing on case number BZA-V26-0007. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they are a relative owned property in the area of notification or have any conflicts of interest.
No.
Any?
None.
None. And I'll call upon the city zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
Before I do that, you might read that hearing intro sheet. Just to
Was
make
that in
sure
here?
not in the packet, but I did print it out.
There it is. Yep, I missed it. Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone. Public, this one you're talking about, right? Yeah, I overlooked that. We'd like to welcome everyone, lay out a few ground rules which will apply to each public hearing we have tonight. It's important to you to present any facts or views you have as evidence so that an informed recommendation can be made by the Planning Commission to the governing body for their final decision. For those cases which advance to the governing body under state statute, the governing body does not have to hold additional public hearings on these matters, although they may listen to whomever they wish. If you'd like, if you will be asked if there's any new information which has not been heard in these hearings, it's to everyone's advantage if you present all necessary information at these hearings. For each case, the city zoning administrator provides the commission with background information. I'll call upon the applicant. Public comments will be heard following the applicant. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have the opportunity for final comments. The Planning Commission will close the hearings to public comment and will consider the factors on which to base their recommendation. During this time, the commission may direct questions to the applicant, the public, and/or city staff. You should be aware the Planning Commission can recommend that the site be platted or replatted if necessary, and that a site plan may be required for approval. You should be aware that any uses permitted outright in a district by the regulations can receive a zoning permit. Furthermore, if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions which are covered in city and others in zoning and other city codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson and give their name and address. Please use the podium and speak clearly so that your comments can be recorded for inclusion into our minutes. Official notices for these hearings were published in the City of Andover Municipal website on June 20th, 2026, and notices were mailed to the applicant and all real property owners of record in the area of notification on June 19, 2026. The record shows at least 20 days have elapsed between the publication and mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I'll declare that the proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage such communications, I will ask the commission if any of them have received any ex parte, verbal or written communications prior to the hearings which they'd like to share.
No.
No, I think we already got that out of the way. Yeah. I'll now call upon the city zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
Yeah, so here we have an application for a variance that is both familiar and a bit strange. So this is for an accessory structure, specifically to be a pool house that exceeds the maximum size for an accessory structure in the Flint Hills neighborhood. You all have heard a lot of these in the last 8 to 12 months. So that does make it pretty familiar. But what's interesting about this is that, as you can see, this parcel is pretty unique. Indeed, it consists of 2 lots. That'd be Lot 1, Block 1 in the first phase of Flint Hills, and then Lot 5, Block 2 in the second phase of Flint Hills, and a bit of the reserve that would separate those two. It's all owned by that property owner, so it's all one big parcel. Which means that, they have a dwelling on the northern parcel, the part in the first phase, that Lot 1, Block 1. The southern portion, I guess we'll say, does not have a dwelling on it. There was not one constructed there. Currently, the property owner has some smaller accessory structures there, but nothing of this scale. There is a foundation in place. And what the property owner intends to do is build this pool house on the existing foundation. It also includes a garage, so it can use the existing driveway that connects to the streets. Since this lot is so large due to its being 2 lots plus a bit of a reserve, it would be very difficult for the pool house to overwhelm this area beyond the fact that there are lots of large pool houses in this neighborhood already. With the proposed pool house and the existing accessory structures and the existing dwelling, the applicant would reach a total of 14% of the lot being covered in structures, which is 21% shy of what they are allowed to have at maximum. So obviously nowhere near that requirement. The applicant has presented some elevation drawings as well, which indicate that this will be aesthetically compatible. And of course, the Flint Hills HOA gets to have say on that as well. That's not something we get to enforce, but obviously attention has been paid to that to make sure that this would fit in with the area and not be out of place. I think that's all I've got to say. We've had a lot of these kind of cases recently.
Yeah. Any questions of staff?
Nope.
So if they would which a lot of people do combine all the lots together, then we're talking even less of a percentage than what we're showing here, or it is that
These are combined together. So that's what it would be. Yeah.
You have two addresses?
Like would the pool house get its own address? Unless it had its own utilities, I don't believe so.
I see.
If it had its own meter, every G might want to give it its own address.
Any more questions? I assume the applicant's here? No? I thought you were the applicant. The only reason to stick around, I figured.
The person who, the builder representing the property owner, was not able to attend this evening. They'll let us know that they were going to, but it's their son's birthday.
Okay. Pretty
Yeah, I
straight.
was gonna ask them, are they gonna have to take a bus from the house to the pool?
There is a
It's
walking path that kind of winds its way from the house down
Put
to.
a tram in.
They have like
I
a
really
patio.
I love the idea.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to take a unique kind of a cul-de-sac style there. And then they have trees on the end, which apparently they don't own, but still, it'd feel pretty private back there. I like it. Great idea.
Yeah, and I mean, from the elevations that they have, you wouldn't know that that's not a house.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I'd like them to send us a picture when it's done. Any members of the public that want to speak on the case? Nope.
Oh, please stand up and say something.
Say something, I don't know, positive. I'm just kidding. That was for. Any written communication been received?
No, sir.
Hearing no further public comments, I'll hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comment unless the board wishes to ask questions or clarify information. The board will now deliberate the request to determine whether the evidence presented supports the conclusions of the requires findings of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation. I could do these. Let's just get through them. I'm getting tired. Does the evidence demonstrate that the physical surrounding shape or topography of the property would result in a practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience for the owner, lessee, or occupant? Staff. The subject property is oddly shaped. It consists of two separated platted lots, as well as a portion of the reserve which previously separated the two lots, creating a parcel which is over 350 feet long from north to south, but only approximately 120 feet across its widest. The southern portion, which would have been the site of another dwelling, has ample room for another large structure in the place of the home. Considering all the structures present on the parcel, the addition of the pool house would bring the total lot coverage to approximately 14%, well shy of the 35% maximum for zoning district. Concur. 2, granting the variance will result in material detriment or injury to the property or improvements in the neighborhood. Staff. No detrimental effects are anticipated. The neighborhood already features many such pool house structures which have themselves received similar variances. Concur. 3, granting the variance will result in inadequate supply of light or air to adjacent property, substantially increase traffic congestion, increase fire risk, or substantially diminish property values in the neighborhood. Staff. No such detrimental effects are anticipated. Concur. The request for a variance is not based exclusively on a desire of an owner, lessee, occupant, or staff to make more money out of the property. Staff. The request is for a pool house for personal use only. Concur. Specific conditions to be met. The requested variance arises from a condition unique to the property in question, which is not ordinarily found in the same zoning district, and which was not created by any action of the property owner or the applicant. Staff. The shape and size of the subject property is very unique and creates a much larger amount of space for development than a typical parcel with the same zoning district. The applicant could not fit the proposed structures in the backyard area on the northern lot. Concur. 2, strict application of the provisions of these zoning regulations would result in necessary hardship for the owner, lessee, or occupant of the land or structures. Staff. Strict application of the provisions would likely lead to the southern lot staying underdeveloped as it has since the 2000s.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Staff. No such adverse effects are anticipated. Concur. The requested variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff. No such adverse effects are anticipated. Similar structures have existed in the same neighborhood for some time without issue. Concur. 5, The requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of these zoning regulations. Staff, the requested variance is not opposed to the promotion of public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare in the city.
Concur.
Is there a motion either approved, modify and approve, disapprove, or table the discussion?
Mr. Chairperson, I'll make a motion to approve, having considered the evidence at the hearing and determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist that support all 5 conditions set out in subsection 11-106.b2 of the zoning regulations and KSA 12-759E. I, David Foley, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the variance for case number BZAB 26007 as requested.
Thank you, Dave.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. A resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 45 days from the date of this hearing. If anyone's aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator.
Mr. Chairperson, I make a motion, Gary Israel, make a motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning the board of the motion, all those in favor of approval of them adjourning the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvening the Planning Commission, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Any member items? I know most of the public is left, but I do appreciate them coming out. I know that was difficult. It was very difficult for us too, but
Amen to that.
yeah, I don't have anything more to say.
Good job. All you guys.
Thanks to all of you for showing up. You knew it was going to be tough tonight. I thought about going out of town. No, I'm kidding. I didn't. I didn't. No. I'm just kidding. I didn't consider it.
Was there anything that you all wanted this evening? Just
Cool. Thanks for coming.
what a way to spend a date night.
Do you live in?
Thanks for staying the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. How old's your little one?
We have an almost 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, so they're going to go around.
Good. Where do they go to school? Where's the oldest go to school?
He'll be going to Sunflower. We just moved here.
Great. Where'd you move from?
The Hayesville area.
Good. Well, we hope you like Andover. Most of them don't go this late. We're normally done by 8 o'clock or so. It's not nearly as lively. This has by far been the liveliest one I've ever been a part of, but I think it's what needed to happen. But thanks for coming.
Yeah, we're glad you spent your date night here.
One comment I'd like to say, when I moved here in 92, right after the tornado, there were 3,500 residents. And the tornado destroyed an awful lot of Andover, and it's rebuilt. And I think it's had great progress. It would be nice to say we're starting with a clean slate and we're going to put this here and this here and this and this and this and be able to satisfy everybody's needs. And it's difficult sometimes when things come in. I think the case tonight, I think it was important that Andover does have an addiction recovery center. Like I said, when my daughters were in school, drugs were an issue. It just gets worse and worse. And if you think it's just alcohol and drugs, how many people are addicted to their phones? I'm addicted to doom scrolling on YouTube, and sugar, So we all have things that we have to deal with, and we need to be open to helping individuals. And we're fortunate we have a community that can do that. So I know it's hard. We want to have a recovery center. We don't want it in our backyard. That's one of the unfortunate things. And yeah, we just have to go on the facts. So I really appreciate staff and the city attorney in helping us get through this difficult matter.
Yeah.
I, Gary Israel, make a motion to adjourn the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals for 21
Second.
July 2026.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
No, sorry,
Yes.
please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Yes. Very good. We're good. Motion passes. Still getting used to that.